Hi, my name's Aaron Gallagher, and thank you for watching the Gospel Broadcasting Network. Today we have a special guest with us. We have Rob Whitaker from House to House, Heart to Heart School of Evangelism. Rob, thank you for being here with us.
It's great to be with you, Aaron.
I'm excited to have you, Rob. I know that I've been to your personal evangelism seminars and learned a lot from it, and I believe it's made me a more effective evangelist by some of the things you exposed that I'd never thought of before. So today we're going to do a short segment talking about 7 effective evangelism methods. So I'm excited to talk about those with you. The first one we have is personal Bible studies. Why do you think personal Bible studies are, in your opinion, and I know mine, the most effective way to have a Bible study with somebody?
Well, it's results. I mean, we should be result-oriented. Let's just look at the numbers. When you sit down with somebody personally and do a Bible study, when they're sitting across the table from you, what kind of results do you get? Well, when I use Back to the Bible and they finish all 3 lessons, we're at 90%. Wow. You know, and of course, that didn't come overnight. That's come from years and years and years of using it. So you might start out 60, 70%. But here's the bottom line. You're going to have a much higher degree of conversion using a personal Bible study than perhaps using the 7th method, which we'll discuss, sing them a tract. So having that one-on-one, and you know, they're making a commitment. They're giving you time. They're sitting down and allowing you to, you know, enter their mind and heart and soul. So a personal Bible study is always going to be the most effective form of evangelism. Sitting down, you know, filling out a booklet together, opening the Bible, reading the Bible. You can read their body language. Mm-hmm. You can see their tone of voice. You know, there's no tone of voice when you're writing something, but there is when you're sitting across the table. You can smile. They can smile. You can watch their eyes, you know, if they become fearful, if they become distracted. Mm-hmm. All those things you can look at in a personal Bible study.
I think you're so right, because there's so many things just in communication that are those nonverbals where you may have somebody, if they read a verse and you can see if they start to shift in their seat, okay, that really affected them. So I think you're exactly right. That's by far, I think, the most effective. And so let's say maybe you have somebody you want to study the Bible with, you try to set up a one-on-one personal Bible study, but something like this recent quarantine happens. What are some other ways you can be effective with evangelism?
One thing that, you know, the quarantine taught us is that just because we're not able to personally get with people doesn't mean we can't do evangelism. You know, I think a lot of members of the church know programs like WebEx, Zoom, mm-hmm. and others that we can use now. And, you know, you can still do a Bible study with somebody. Now, it's not personal in the sense that you're one-on-one with somebody, mm-hmm. but it can be a virtual Bible study mm-hmm. where you send them the material, they get it in the mail, okay, you schedule a time, you get on Zoom, you know, they're filling out the booklet, they've got the Bible, and so there are some visual responses you can get. You can still make some observations. Mm-hmm. Not as effective as a personal Bible study, but still, are they giving you time? Yes, they're scheduling time. So it's of interest to them. Mm-hmm. So virtual Bible studies, that would be the second, you know, method I would use. I'm trying to give these in what I've experienced mm-hmm. in the order of success. And so I'm looking out at churches, I'm looking at personal experience. What's the most effective? Personal Bible studies, virtual Bible studies?
I agree. I've had here at GBN a lot of opportunities to do the virtual ones, and I can agree that they're not as good as the personal ones, but you can still get some work done. And, you know, just today I was talking with a woman from Florida who was asking questions. She's been watching GBN. And even though you're not able to build that same relationship as a one-to-one, it still gives you an opportunity if something like this ever happens in the future, or you have a loved one that you know you can't be with physically, you could still have a Bible study with them.
Well, what happens if you're at a congregation and grandma lives, you know, 3 states away? Mm-hmm. Or what happens if there's somebody, and literally there are people that work 12-hour days. Mm-hmm. You try to get with them, you invite them to your house, it just is not happening. Do you give up on them? Mm-hmm. No, go to plan B. Plan B, hey, let's do a virtual Bible study. Mm-hmm. You know, so don't ever give up. That's one of our mottos in evangelism. Mm-hmm. It's just keep trying. There is a way to reach them. So virtual Bible studies are going to reach people that maybe you can't reach. Mm-hmm. You know, there's also people, and this goes to our third method, they do not like personal things. Mm-hmm. They do not like pressure. And mm-hmm. even a virtual Bible study, Aaron, gives them pressure. They feel like there's an expectation. You're grading or judging them. Mm-hmm. Use the third method, which is the digital Bible study. In other words, a digital Bible study is, you know, we have filmed the study. And I did this recently at World Video Bible School. I sat down, I made the camera the prospect. I took the camera for 60 minutes. I did a Bible study with the camera. It's funny. At the end of it, Matt Cain looked at me and he said, "Rob, I think the camera wants to be baptized, but I won't let it." and so you're teaching that camera. Well, who's the camera? It's the person watching it. So I'm still teaching them. There are a lot of digital tools. I'd recommend Does It Matter? It's very effective. It's based on the Does It Matter booklet. Why don't you mail them the booklet? Let them use the Does It Matter DVD or maybe a thumb drive. We have those available, and they can do it without pressure. And it's an effective way to evangelize.
I think I like the Does It Matter, the booklet. I remember I was in Knoxville, Tennessee once at a lectureship there, and I met this young man in the lobby who saw me read my Bible, and he said, "What are you studying?" I said, "Come sit down, I'll show you." And so we went through, I didn't have the Does It Matter, I had the first back to the Bible, and I went through it with him. But it's such a great resource now to have it in a video, because now we're in a day where some people will read, but a lot more people would rather watch a video,
That's exactly
unfortunately, than read a book. And so I'm excited you have this new resource. Now, if somebody wanted to get this Does It Matter, to send it to somebody, where could they go to get this resource?
All they have to do is email us or call us. Information is provided. You can see it on the screen. We will get it out the next day. And by the way, Does It Matter is inexpensive. You're talking about $2 if you get 20 or more. And so you can go to World Video Bible School if you want a sample of it and look at it. And then grab 20, grab 30, 40, 50, grab 100 of them. Send them to people, mail them to people, mail them to a friend, a coworker, and say, "Hey, if you got some time, I think you should watch this." So it's a non-confrontational way of doing a Bible study. It's safe. It's really hard to offend somebody by sending. If they don't watch it, they don't watch it. But they may have a bad day and see that laying on the table and say, "You know what? I need this." And they watch it. You never know what good. Not as good as a personal Bible study, not as good as a virtual Bible study, but better than nothing.
Well, and it's also interesting, if I send somebody that Does It Matter and they see you presenting it, it's interesting how people react to different things. And I noticed sometimes I've tried to teach people in my life, and it's almost like because it's coming from me, they think, well, you're just trying to prove that I'm right, or that you're right and I'm wrong. But sometimes when it's a third party that they don't know, they understand, hey, this guy doesn't have anything to prove. So what would you say to somebody maybe if they can't get a personal, they can't get a virtual, they can't get a digital, what do you think's next on the list there?
Maybe a group Bible study. Now, I want to start out by saying this. Don't start with the group Bible study. Group Bible studies have inherent built-in problems. When you get a group of people together, there's no telling what they're going to say. One person's error can affect the entire circle. But now let's talk about the positive. You're living in a subdivision, and maybe you have a way of contacting the whole subdivision, and you say, "Hey, listen, we're going to have a little Bible study at our house on Tuesday night. Anyone who wants to come can come." This is an excellent way to find contacts. Let me make a suggestion. If you're going to do that, don't use Back to the Bible. Don't use Does It Matter. Just have a general Bible study. Find the person who is interested. Peel them off. In other words, say, "Hey, man, I love the questions you're asking. You want to come back tomorrow night?" Then you go into the personal Bible study. Group studies are a great way to find contacts. Not necessarily the best way to do a complete Bible study. Can you imagine getting to the end of a group Bible study and you have 10 people? Now the time to make the decision. Well, you can see the problems that would arise. One person wants to obey, one person doesn't want to obey, one person maybe has a marriage issue they need to talk about, but they don't want to talk about it in front of 10 people. So again, you have to understand the dynamics of what you're doing. I'm not telling you not to do them. I'm just saying be aware of the negatives and positives of them.
I agree completely. When I lived in North Carolina, I had this group that would come over. They were not members of the church, guys from my gym, and we'd read through the Gospel of Matthew. And I had a friend who, as reading through, you could tell he was the one that was asking more questions. And so one night after everybody had gone, him and I got to study one-on-one, and he ended up obeying the gospel. But you're exactly right. If we talked about the plan of salvation in front of the other guys in that group, I have a feeling they would have created a lot of roadblocks for him.
Absolutely.
So what would you say, after group Bible studies being a good feeder program maybe for your personal studies, what are some other, I hate to call them lower level, but some methods that maybe you shouldn't resort to first, but it still should be in your toolbox?
Aaron, for decades in the churches of Christ, we have used correspondence courses. We have great correspondence courses. House to House has correspondence courses. I mean, just about, different congregations have their own. The John Hurt series, for how long has that been used? It's a great series. So mail them. Some people like the read the text, answer the questions type study interaction. It's structure. They need the structure. There are people that can be converted, and many, in fact, thousands of people have come to be converted because of that. But it's the percentage begins to drop. The percentage from a successful correspondence course to a personal Bible study is dramatic. So I like how you kind of entered this discussion. Don't start with the fruit on the top of the tree. Start with the fruit on the bottom of the tree and pluck it first, and then climb the tree. Correspondence courses are a little harder, but I would in no way discourage. Listen, prison ministries, excellent place for, what better? I used to go to prisons, and I would look at those guys, and I'd say, well, what better thing do you have to do?
Yeah.
What else are you going to do as you sit here? Do a correspondence course. And we have so many correspondence courses. We can send them literally for years and go back and forth. So there's value in correspondence courses. I just would tell people, don't start there.
Yeah. I think correspondence courses are really good too, because sometimes you have people that just don't know that much about their Bible. Maybe their church does not teach just general Bible knowledge, and so they go through a correspondence course on Acts, and all the knowledge blows their mind, and that opens up the door to having, like you're saying, a personal Bible study. So just using, all 7 of these, if possible, is going to increase your likelihood of somebody obeying the gospel.
Absolutely.
So what about we also have on here tracts and pamphlets, and I know I love tracts because every time I go to a church and I see one I haven't read before, I end up taking it anyway. But what are your feelings on tracts and pamphlets?
Well, let me add one more before I get there.
Okay, perfect.
Books.
Oh, the book. I skipped over that one. Yeah.
Don't underestimate the value of giving a person a book. Transformed, Reborn, Muscle and a Shovel. How many thousands of people, tens of thousands maybe, have obeyed the gospel because they read a book? And it's a great way. It's a way of telling a story about a personal conversion, and a person can see themselves in that. So, again, not as effective as a personal Bible study, but there are people we can reach with that book that we can't reach with the others. Check the boxes, go down the list, send them the book. Let's go to the last one, the tract. Wow. I can remember growing up and seeing that, the Brother Dobbs tracts and the various others that have been in our tract recs for years, and now House to House has come out with the most attractive tracts covering just about every subject under the sun. Tracts are great ways to produce contacts, interest level. In other words, maybe someone's struggling with finances. Send them a tract on it. In their marriage, send them a tract. Troubled teenager, send them a tract. That's going to create interest. And so once you create that interest, then you got to hone it and try to get into that personal Bible study. So tracts are an entry level. I believe a person could be converted with the right tract, but the likelihood of it is probably very slim. The tract is really an interest producer. It's kind of going through the soil and tilling it up and preparing it so you can do the virtual Bible study, the digital Bible study, the personal Bible study. But don't ever underestimate the value of a tract. And it's simple.
And I know, too, in my personal study, there's always been a progression where at first I really didn't like studying, but you learn one little thing, and it almost ignites this little fire in you. I want to learn more. And I think tracts can do that with a lot of people. They read, I never knew that before.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, with all of these in your evangelism toolbox, if you had, a minute to tell somebody, what would you tell them about, your encouraging words for evangelism, something that's going to get them motivated to go out and share the gospel with somebody?
It's simple. I think we complicate things that God has made simple. Personal evangelism doesn't have to be hard. If you use a method like Back to the Bible, you can literally pick it up, and a Christian without any training whatsoever can do it. That's what I love about this. You don't have to go to a preaching school. You don't have to go to college. You don't have to have a seminar. You can pick it up and just start using it. Now, I can give you tips. I can show you, how to be more effective, but it's so simple to use. And I think in evangelism, if we can keep it simple for people, the average church member is not afraid to use it. All right, we can train others how to use it. The prospect's not afraid of it. I mean, it makes sense. I was in a Bible study this last week, and the young man, he's been a denominational error all his life. He looked across the table at me and he says, I've learned more about the Bible in this hour and a half than I've learned my whole life. It was so simple.
Wow.
That's not a unique situation. I get that in almost every single study because the gospel is simple.
Well, Rob, thank you so much. I know personally I've used Back to the Bible, and I think what you talked about in one of your seminars I went to was that most people are afraid to have Bible studies or even ask for the study because they're terrified What if they say yes? And Back to the Bible makes it so simple that if you can read and you know where to find books of your Bible, and if you don't nowadays, you can use Google.
That's right.
But if you can read and you have the willingness to ask somebody, hey, can we study together, then you can have an effective, thorough Bible study with somebody using Back to the Bible. So, Rob, thank you so much for being here today, and we're thankful for all your work for the kingdom and honored to have you here.
And you too. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.